The Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has made it clear to Jacinda Ardern that he will not be budging on his government's deportation policy. The two leaders held formal talks in Australia on Ms Ardern's first official trip to the country. She also revealed the leaders exchanged gifts of sneakers, a silk scarf and a fishing book. Our Deputy Political Editor Chris Bramwell filed this report from Sydney.
The Honour Guard belted out a few bars of Waltzing Matilda as the Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull arrived at Admiralty House to welcome Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. The 19-gun salute, which after making the media pack leap, continued echoing around the Sydney harbour as Jacinda Ardern arrived. Once the ceremonial formalities were over, the two leaders met one-on-one for about 15 minutes before starting their formal meeting at a long table in Admiralty House, flanked by their officials.
Our alliance, our family relationship is built on shared values.
The meeting took about an hour, after which Ms Ardern and Malcolm Turnbull addressed the media. While much of the half-hour press conference was taken up with talk of how close the two countries are, mates, if you will. That mateship, however, it appears does not extend as far as changing the Australians' deportation policy. The policy, which has been in place for more than 3 years, means non-Australian citizens can be deported if they've served more than a cumulative year in prison. Some of those people never set foot in New Zealand until they're deported there. But Malcolm Turnbull stridently defended the policy, saying it was morally right.
There is a right of appeal, which a number of the deportees take up. I understand, I just advised early today, we're both advised that just a little bit under 40% of those appeals are successful. So we have the process, this is in accordance with Australian law, and the process is a fair and just one.
Jacinda Ardern reiterated that Australia was acting within its rights.
I've raised, again, as we have on previous occasions, elements of the deportation policy that have, in particular, been brought to our attention where, for instance, someone has never stepped foot in New Zealand. It's something that we've been keen to make sure the Australian government's aware of our perspective on that and our strength of feeling around it. But ultimately, it is in the Australian government's hands to determine how they manage that element of the policy.
Malcolm Turnbull was also asked again why he would not take up New Zealand's offer to resettle 150 refugees who are currently on Manus Island.
We are focused on completing the much larger arrangements with the US. So we'll do that. We'll take that process through to its completion, and then we can consider other options.
And from New Zealand's perspective, the status quo remains, the offer remains.
The rapport between the two leaders appeared warm and respectful, an indication perhaps that they're getting to know each other a bit better. The leaders and their partners had dinner at Malcolm Turnbull's home last night and also exchanged gifts.
Clark and I gave both Mrs Turnbull and Prime Minister Turnbull a pair each of all-bird sneakers. I'm trying to spread the comfort internationally.
What did you get?
Clark got a wonderful book on fishing, which has a lovely backstory. I got a wonderful silk scarf, and the baby got a pair of Australian-made leather shoes.
Jacinda Ardern returns to Auckland late tonight, then departs on a week-long mission to the Pacific on Sunday. In Sydney for Checkpoint, Chris Bramwell.